One of the law enforcement officials who says Initiative 1639 violates the Second Amendment is Sheriff Bob Songer of Klickitat County, Washington. Sheriff, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for allowing me to voice my opinion on this illegal, unconstitutional law.
Yes, well, sheriffs, constitutionally elected officers, their opinions are a little bit more than just opinions. Washington State's Attorney General Bob Ferguson says this is in fact constitutional. What is he missing?
Well, first of all, he's as Attorney General, he should know better to make that statement, in my opinion. But here's why the law is illegal. The rule of law, the law of the land, is the U.S. Constitution and the Washington State Constitution. Now, if Mr. Ferguson wanted to make these changes that they laid out in 1639, if he wanted to do it legally, what they would have done is got 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate to vote for it, and then put it out to the voters. And if the voters voted for it, then the governor would sign it, and it'd become part of the Constitution of the state of Washington. They did not do that. And any time a law is an initiative or a law is passed, as I understand it, through the legislature or whatever, or by referendum, if it affects or impedes upon the Constitution, Washington State Constitution, or a U.S. Constitution, then that law is invalid. It's illegal.
Let's take a closer look at a letter that Ferguson sent to you and all the other sheriffs who think this is unconstitutional. I want to focus on something specific and something they wrote. Quote, the initiative does require local law enforcement, meaning you, to perform enhanced background checks on all sales and transfers of semi-automatic assault rifles, regardless of your personal views. Now, is the AG making this personal because his politics don't align with yours and the other sheriffs who see this as a violation of the Second Amendment?
In my opinion, yes. It's no secret A.G. Ferguson wants to run for governor.
That was my next question, because Jay Inslee's another guy who seems to be in favor of this initiative. We know he's running for president. You think the AG has designs on higher office?
Oh, there's no question. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot of it's politics. He's playing to the base in the major cities like Seattle and so forth, which a lot of those folks, in my opinion, was lied to in this initiative. And they soften it by saying making safer schools, safer community, and so forth and so forth. The fact of the matter is, I've got 48 years in law enforcement, and I've dealt with some pretty bad people, child murderers and so forth. I can tell you, this law, 1639, or any other of the new laws that Ferguson is trying to push, he's campaigning for through the legislature right now as we speak, will not do one thing to make our community safer. Bad guys are going to be bad guys, and you think they're going to pay any attention to this law?
And a lot of times, too, Sheriff, as you know, the laws are already on the books that should have prevented a lot of these mass shootings that get so many of the headlines. Let's take a closer look at something else that the Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson had to say. Here he is.
All of our laws are presumed constitutional. No court has said it's not constitutional. And sheriffs, all law enforcement officers, have a duty to enforce the law. So we believe the law is constitutional, but certainly right now it's the law of the land in our state. Period. There's no debate about that. I understand they have a personal objection to the law. I have personal objections to lots of laws in Washington State. I still enforce them, and they need to do that as well.
Also talking about the governor, Jay Inslee, they both have said that you personally could be held liable if you allow a dangerous person to acquire a firearm. That person later uses that gun to do harm. That sounds like a threat.
Well, it sounds like a threat to me as well. But let's reverse that just a little. Let's suppose we enforce 1639 and we restrict the homeowner's ability to defend himself and his family.
Exactly.
Somebody kicks their door in at 3 o'clock in the morning. That homeowner is not going to have a time to get to his gun in the safe, combination, and ammunition in a separate location to fight off some serious violent criminal that's coming through his door. That's reality. And in our county, I'd like to tell people that we could respond to them in 30 seconds, get the bad guy and save the day. That's not real. The fact is that we may have response times, because we have a lot of territory to cover, response times that would end up being 15, 20, 30 minutes before we get there. So bottom line is the homeowner is going to have to protect themselves and their family. And so if we followed 1639 and limited the homeowner, the gun owner, from being able to protect themselves, could we be sued over that? Could there be liability over that?
You have to think about all that stuff. And, you know, a lot of people forget, especially in cities like Seattle, how different the landscape is from a urban area versus a rural area, which is what most of Washington State is. One quick last question for you, Sheriff. There appears to be a trend towards more gun control in this country, at least allowing it. Now, certainly on the federal level, we saw House Bill H.R. 8 pass with bipartisan support, several Republicans backing that universal background check bill. In your state, this initiative, 1639, was passed with 60% of Washington State voters in favor of it. Do you think public opinion is shifting when it comes to stricter gun control?
Well, I think it is to some extent because of mass shootings and so forth, which are absolute tragedies. No question about that. But again, it's not going to make one iota difference with the bad guy getting a hold of a firearm, a baseball bat, a knife, a car. If they're bound and determined they're going to take a human life, that's going to happen. That's unfortunate, but it's going to happen. That's the real world. But here's the thing that bothers me about 1639. If you go to buy a semi-automatic rifle with this enhanced checks, you sign a waiver giving up your HIPAA laws, your privacy of medical records and so forth. Now, obviously, I think there ought to be, if they're going to do that, then they should have just said all they have access to if that person has been committed to a mental institution.
That's very concerning, Sheriff, and it opens up a whole other can of worms. This is one of the key components. A lot of people talk about the mental health aspects that needs to be part of this discussion, but we haven't seen a good way to do that, and this initiative is a perfect example. Sheriff,
yeah, and give you an example. That's a Fourth Amendment violation.
Right. You know, unfair, unlawful search and seizures. We do have to worry about the Constitution, not just what is expedient politically. Kitikat County Sheriff Bob Songer, thanks so much. Great to see you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel. Newsmax TV is now available for free on your smartphone. Just go to your iPhone or Android store and download the free Newsmax TV app. Then you can watch free TV news with an American spin anytime, anywhere in the world. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.